Hello beautiful souls, and welcome to today's episode of 10-Minute Bed Talks. Today we are going to be talking about tips for finding a good therapist, how to know which therapy is right for you, and if therapy is even right for you in the first place. So let the magic begin. So if you're somebody who has been thinking about therapy, or maybe you've never thought about therapy before, then hopefully this video is going to be perfect for you. You may have noticed that we are not on a bed today. I'm unable to get to my usual space to do today's filming, so just pretend that this is a bed behind me. So I'll just set my alarm and then we'll be good to go. We've set the alarm. Got Lola curled up on my lap. Let's begin. So I felt that this was a really great video to make because I have talked a lot in my other videos about how great therapy is, how much I recommend it, and so therefore giving you a video where I'm sharing tips on how to find the right therapy and therapist for you kind of just makes sense. So let's just start with, how do you know that therapy is right for you in this moment? Well, firstly, I've always said that everybody goes through something stressful, traumatic, challenging in their life, and therefore I would encourage you, if that sounds like you, to think about therapy. However, there are two signs that therapy might be right for you. The first one is that perhaps something has happened in your life and you almost can't stop talking about it, and that's because it's affecting you. That's not a criticism or a judgment there, but sometimes when something bothers us, it's all we can think about and talk about. It just consumes us. So if you find that, say, you're at the supermarket, or you're at the opticians, or at the dentist, and when somebody just says, "How are you?" or "Are you all right today?" you start talking about it, or you start talking about how you're feeling, then that's possibly a sign that therapy could be aligned for you. The other side of the coin, and the second sign, is if you are avoiding talking about it, avoiding thinking about it. Maybe you've suppressed or repressed it because it feels so mountainous to actually go and talk about that and share it. And so that level of avoidance is perhaps a sign that it would be really helpful and probably really healthy for you to receive some type of therapy. And I would say, speaking from experience, that was very much where I was. And it's definitely worth it when you have that breakthrough and you move through that mountain, that obstacle. So which type of therapy should you look for when you know that you want therapy? So obviously there is mental, emotional, physical and spiritual elements to you, and you might find that what's happening for you is physical. So it could be you fell down the stairs, you hurt your ankle and you've gone to see a physio. It could be that you picked up a really heavy box and twinged your back, so you've gone to see an osteopath. Those are really healthy, positive, loving things that you can do for yourself. That's okay. It's all right, Lola. If you find when you're in those situations, when you go to an osteopath, that you start sharing things that are of a mental, emotional or spiritual nature, then that could be an inclination that the other type of therapy, which might be good for you, is talking therapy. So I'm talking about counselling, I'm talking about cognitive behavioural therapy, also known as CBT. I'm talking about EFT, emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. Those are three really big branches of talking therapies, and you may well be able to refer yourself for free to actual talking therapies, which is something I've done, or you may be able to go and see a therapist. I'm going to share some tips on how to find the right therapist for you. I do just want to also say that it may be frowned upon by your family, or perhaps in your community or your culture, to go for therapy. If that aligns for you, then I would encourage you to go when it feels that you are safe and okay to do so. You don't have to go for therapy the moment that something traumatic has happened. If you can, that's great, but sometimes it takes us time to integrate and process things and become aware of things. So it's okay if it's 3, 5, 10, 15 years later. What matters is that you actually are taking those steps and loving yourself enough to look after yourself on that mental, emotional, physical or spiritual plane. So what's the first tip for finding a good therapist? So ideally, I would recommend that you look for somebody who offers a free complimentary clarity call where you can just chat to them on the phone or via Zoom for 15 minutes, half an hour, just to see if your energies are aligned, to see if you really like this person and want to work with them. Because sometimes if we just book in straight away with the first person we find, you get into the session and you think, actually this person is maybe a bit too abrupt for me, or maybe they're a bit too empathic and compassionate for me and I need someone who's a bit more like gung-ho. It depends what you're like and what you would like to receive. So if you can have that little call with them, then it's really healthy and helpful just to see if your energies match and if they're the right person for you. If they don't offer that, you can absolutely email them and say, would you be okay to chat to me for 15 minutes on the phone? I just want to see if we're aligned for therapy. Most therapists will say yes to that. And if they're saying no, maybe don't work with them. It's up to you. The next thing is, when you actually go for the session, I would really encourage you to think about having therapy in person, so going to their office. My counsellor has a lovely summer house in her garden and it's super private, no one else is ever really around, so I don't bump into anybody, which is really nice. So finding somebody who you can go to is really healthy, and that's because when we express ourselves verbally, we are quite literally releasing a lot of emotion and energy into the air. We know that everything is energy, right? And so if you're doing that in your house, then you're doing this big energetic, emotional or mental dump in your bedroom or in your kitchen or wherever you're doing this call, and the energy just gets left there. So if you're somebody who knows how to cleanse energy, how to remove it from the house, then it's absolutely fine to do it online. But if you're not familiar with that, or if it's your first time ever having counselling or some kind of talking therapy, I'd highly encourage you to do it in person, because actually it just can have a bit more of an impact if it's your first time, and it also can really help you to feel like you've put that there, you've dealt with it, you come away, you come home, or you go out, or you do whatever, and sometimes it can be nice to treat yourself afterwards, like go and have a coffee or just go for a walk around, I don't know, a nice part of nature or something, just a little treat, just to ground yourself and just feel positive, because you ought to be leaving therapy feeling, I've had a shift today, things are moving forwards, or I understand things a bit better, or I've had an aha moment, or I've just had a really good cry and that's what I really needed in this moment. Or maybe it's just I feel heard for the first time in my life. So other things to look for with a therapist are they being non-judgmental? Are they being compassionate? And are they holding space for you? Now, you'll know that they're holding space because you'll feel completely safe in their presence. You will feel that you are totally held by them in an emotional and mental and maybe even spiritual way. They're not obviously there to touch you physically. Therefore, you'll feel that you're being heard, you're being seen. And it's different to being heard by like a friend or something like that. You know, a friend is obviously going to rush in and try and give you solutions and answers and, oh, actually, it could be this and don't worry about that. And that's lovely. But what's so magical about therapy is that the therapist will literally let you say it. And for the first time ever, instead of somebody rushing in to rescue you, you're actually going to be able to hear things yourself. And that's when the aha moments come through, because you think, actually, yes, now that I hear myself say that, that sounds like this is what's bothering me. And of course, the therapist will gently encourage you towards those aha moments and may ask what we call leading questions, which are very helpful in the moment to help you understand or to see through things if perhaps maybe that's got a bit lost for you in some way. The therapist is never there to judge you or to condone things or to re-victimize you. Okay, they are there to empower you at the end of the day, to move beyond, to move through those things. If you are with a therapist and they start crying when you're crying, that is a huge no-no. Or if they say, yeah, actually that was really wrong of you to do that, that is a huge no-no. At any point in your therapy relationship with your therapist, if they start saying personal things, sharing personal things, or making you feel judged or not as safe as you have felt in the past, I would recommend either bringing it up with them or seeking a different therapist. And that could just mean that maybe you've been with that therapist for too long and so it's become over familiar, or it could just mean that maybe they're not the right person for you, or maybe they're just not a very good therapist. Those things do happen, let's face it. There are people out there who are maybe not as well trained or maybe just not that good at their job. I also would say that you are the one in control in your therapy session. So if at any point you feel that it isn't right for you anymore, or actually the subject has turned away from what you wanted to focus on in the session, you're totally within your right to say to the therapist, actually, I did really want to focus on this today. Or I feel like perhaps I've worked with you for a good length of time now and I've got loads from it, but I'm actually going to find a different therapist now who can help me with X, Y, and Z. You know, it's totally fine. I would also say, sorry, Lola, just sit there, darling. I would also say that when you have your first session with a therapist, in person or online, it's really healthy for them to say to you at the end of the session, I will leave this with you. If you'd like to book in with me, either here's the link to book in or just email me and we'll go from there. At no point should they say to you, right, let's get you booked in straight away for next week, because it's really down to you if you feel at the end of the session that they were the right person for you. And having that first taster session sometimes can be really helpful for that. It's also worth saying it's completely fine if you have therapy every week initially, and then every 2 weeks, and then every 4 weeks, and then maybe every 6 weeks. It depends on how intense the trauma or the challenge or the stressful situation is feeling for you. And maybe you won't know that until you get into therapy and you're sitting with the therapist and you might think, actually, this is bothering me more than I thought it is, so I'm going to see them every week for a few weeks. You are in control. You can start or end that therapy relationship whenever you want to. They are there to support you in a non-judgmental space, to make you feel seen and heard, and to help you find your way through. And once and for all, release that weight of that trauma or that stressful situation that potentially has been having all kinds of implications in your life, right? Maybe holding you back from feeling that you're worthy of a relationship, maybe holding you back from feeling that you're worthy of another job, whatever that may be. That is what therapy can help you move beyond and start to achieve your goals and realize that you are worthy, you are empowered, you are confident, and can be as successful and happy as you'd like to be. So that's as much as I can fit into 10 minutes and more. I hope that you have found this helpful and interesting to listen to, and I really hope it's encouraged you to consider therapy, or maybe consider a different type of therapy to one that you've had before. So I'm wishing you so many blessings on your journey with therapy. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video.